Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to this one. So today I'm going to be discussing how to actually use GetX to control your state. Um, Not just the states, you'll be able to actually control all the components of your app and grouping them in form of controllers, states, uh, bindings, just the way the GetX stuff works. So you should be able to actually have a clean organization of your code where you can be able to interact with your front end or the UI part of it, fully separating the business logics, right? So that's what we're going to do in this one. So I have a subset of code I've written for a particular client project. And I'm going to just give you a walkthrough. I'm not going to be diving into all the nitty-gritty of the code, but you should be able to get into, you should be able to actually understand what you can do in a project that you're working on, no matter how complex it is. So let's quickly get into it. So if you look at what I have right now, I'm actually on a login controller, as you can see. So I have a controller class, and then I have a state class, and then I have a view class, then I have a binding class. So just the way GetX work, right? You can actually have controllers, you can have states, you can have views, then you can have binding. And what is binding is just like dependency injection, so where you actually connect or load your controllers to be kind of on demand. So depending on where you need it, so that controller will only be loaded when it's actually needed. So meaning that in my binding, if I go to the binding class, you can see that I just have a dependency injection that is probably loading my login controller. So when a user tries to log in, so after the splash screen, and is trying to get into the login page, then this login binding is actually being loaded into the app, right? So that's how it works. So you define a class, and then you extend the binding class, and then you override a particular function. And then you call get load lazy put. Lazy put is that it's going to actually only load that when it's actually needed. So you don't need to, because you actually do get.put, and then it will always be there. But lazy put will only do that when it really needs that. So that's why we're actually using lazy put in this instance. So login controller is actually the controller we're going to be looking at right here. Then our state is what are the possible things that we want to show in the login, and that's what we need to keep in mind when we're actually working on the state. So in our login state, we have some kind of reactive variables. Is logged in, and then loading, and then we also have like token. So why do we have it in reactive form? Is because we want to keep track of changes in this variable. So for each time that is logged in is changed, which means someone have logged in, we need to be able to flip that is logged in to probably true or false. And then loading is if somebody taps on the button, we need to be able to know that they've tapped on the button. Probably want to can show our loading indicator. That's just why we need that to be observable, right? So the OBS, if this is your first time I'm looking at GetX, it stands for observable, right? Observable variable. So we are trying to make this variable to be reactive so that we can actually listen to that. And then token is each time you log in, we want to probably update our token in the session storage, right? Then we also want to expose this because we are preceding this with underscores, and that makes it actually a local variable into display, so we can't actually access it outside without using a getter. Then we'll have some setters as well. So that's just what we have in the state. And then let's quickly go into the controller where we have just the major meat of the stuff. So our login controller has just a few things. A controller to actually take in the login username and password, or email and password. You can see that here. And then we also have the controllers being exported in the getter so that we can actually use it in our views. Then we have some other local variables is visible, so just for some reasons. Then you have a reason here. This reason is actually used to track if because we want to track in a situation whereby user spends too much time idling around the app and he's not doing something. So we need to be able to probably log him out if he's not doing something. So we need to show a reason why we're actually logging him out. So that's why we have this logout reason. as a string, and that logout reason we update that each time we want to try to log out a user. So if you go down to the my onReady, you can see I'm listening to user stored or get session stream add session state start listening. So I'm using a package where I'm trying to listen to those idle moments of the user, and when I don't actually get that out. So if it's logged in and I'm listening, so if it's actually logged out, I'll stop listening. That's what I'm trying to do in this. So immediately you log in, I'll start listening to your login sessions or activities in the app. So if you stop listening, I will actually probably stop listening so that the stream can be stopped. So these are just basic helper functions where we're actually using to toggle the visibility of the password on and off, right? So we just want to, if user taps on the hide password, you know, like when you want to log in and then you type your password, you want to see the password you type. So we'll just use that to flip the password. That's what this observable value does, right? So now on login, what we're doing here is on login, we check that the forms are correct, and then we construct your login payload. And then I check that you don't have this secret already stored. So if it doesn't have that, I'm going to just persist that, because we actually probably going to need it when we want to log in with biometrics, basically. So if user story that has this and it has all this information, all right, then, and it's not this email, it means that this email is not, if you cannot get the email, so if this email address is not actually the email that is being imputed at the moment, it means that probably the user switched device. It's a very rare occasion that happened when I probably switched a device and I tried to log in, right? So it's probably there's a persistent user email and password, but that email at that moment did not really match the one on the storage. So it's a very rare occasion. It doesn't really, cannot happen, but it's something that I actually saw. So that being done, there I can flip in the state loading. So remember that my state, like I said, if you check, I told you that we'll have a state. I showed you the state first of all here. So the state is from the login state, and login state is this. All right, so state is loading, so we set it to loading. Then we call our API auth point or login with the payload, and then we update our user store with the profile information. Once we can confirm that the token is not empty, then I'm going to set this guy to start listening for the session. I'll clear out the input. In case of any errors, I'm going to probably log that, and finally set the loading state to be false. All right, that's just what we have here. Then on post biometric login is just another workaround that I did. I'm going to first of all fetch the username and password that is stored on the local storage, and then I'm going to just try to log you in with these credentials, right? So if email is not empty and pass is not empty, then I'm going to say, okay, that's if it's empty. I'm going to show that probably you have to first of all log in with your regular flow so that we can be able to use that to set you up for, right? So, and then, but if we check that it's not empty, we can go ahead and construct a login payload for you with that information. Then I'm going to do a login for you, and I'm going to save that profile, update the profile, and also start listening to the session, just so that if you stop interacting with the app, it can actually just log you out. All right, so, and if everything goes well, then I'm just gonna go take you to the home screen, right? So, and then if there's any errors, normal, I'm just gonna hide the state. So in the auth with biometrics, so when you've done the regular login and you want to log out, once you log in with biometrics, so I'm going to first of all check that you can actually authenticate with biometrics. So if you can, then I'm going to do that. We're actually starting to authenticate you, and then we do the post biometric login, which is where we're actually calling this above function that is here. All right, so you get the idea. So first of all, I check that the device you're actually trying to use can actually do a login with a biometric, and then I'm going to use that post biometric login function, which we already defined, and log you in. Else, you can just say that biometric login failed. And that's just it. So everything is happening inside our controller, and that's just the sweetest part of this. So you tend to remove all your business logic away from the UI. And then let's quickly just go to the view and see what we have there. So the view, the first thing you need to notice is this OBX that is wrapping my scaffold. I'm actually wrapping the whole scaffold because I don't want to get into trouble of missing a value that needs to be observed. So that's why I'm wrapping everything. So, but you can actually wrap a single widget with your observable widget so that everything don't get reactive in the whole screen. So it depends on what you're trying to do, right? Now, and you can see that I'm not actually using a stateless or stateful widget, so I'm using getView, which is also coming from the get class. And then I'm wrapping the login controller, which is actually the controller that we want to work with in this case. That being said, and then I can go ahead down below, see view. Just want to give you access to where you can see I'm calling my controller. The app input is actually a custom input that I defined. So this input basically is just more of like a regular text field or text form field that I customize, right? I can give you an overview of that after, but I just kind of do a custom implementation of an input, and I call it app input. But I'm passing the controller that I defined in this controller here. As you can see, that I showed you this email controller, which I'm being exposed as email controller down below, right? So go back to view. So I'm passing the controller here, and also for the password, and then you can see the place where we're actually toggling surface icon click. Then we're doing controller.toggle password visibility. So for when a user tries to click on the hide password or show password, this is actually the implementation that we did that just does the toggling, right? And there's the regular validations that we have. So when the stuff is empty, and then we are calling login here. Await controller login, which does the actual login in this case. So you can see that we have also controller that state.loading. So with this where we try to show a busy indicator when the user is actually not, when it taps on the button to log in, then everything spins, and then you can see that something is happening, so that we can actually hide the text and then show a busy indicator on the button. So because our button has also been customized to be able to show that. But what the video that I'm showing you right now is about is so that you can actually see how you can actually use your state using GetX. GetX is a very powerful all-in-one state management dependency injection package. In my opinion, I've actually used in many projects. I love it. Just like I use Riverpod, there are projects that Riverpod becomes very amazing. I don't really probably, let me say, I don't politicize packages. Basically, I just use packages that does give me so much ability to do what I want to do and achieve a very fluid working application. So here is where we're actually doing controller auth with biometrics. So here it's calling that our biometric function that first of all check if the user have capacity to actually authenticate with biometrics, and that if it does that, then we do that authentication. So let me try to see if I can get the app running. Maybe you can see what I mean by that. So let's see. Yeah, this is one of the apps that we ran the last time. So let me quickly run again and see what you have. So the essence of this video is just for you to understand how to use GetX to manage your state. So we're not really doing full-time coding of the whole stuff, but if you want me to do a tutorial that actually has to do with this, where we work a bit together. Why I didn't really do that is because you need to have an API that is working. So if we have a third-party API that we can probably do login or probably query data and stuff, we'll actually get into that. So if you have that, then it's no issues. We can actually work on it. But let me know what you think in the comment section. If there's something you didn't get in this explanation, I'll also be willing to actually give you that. So let's get this, and I will show you this when the app starts running. Alright, so guys, so the app is running right now, so you can see that. So let's try to see if we can log in. So this is actually on simulator. I don't like using simulators because the way they can actually slow down your computer can be very crazy, and actually on a Windows machine, which is not really that performant as the case may be. Sorry, this will probably be mail. Alright, so like I said, I told you about this controller that toggles the visibility, right? So if you have toggle visibility, so this suffix icon is actually what enables you to toggle that. So that's actually what is doing that. So as you can remember that in the UI, if I do tap on this toggle visibility, I told you it's actually a reactive way of doing something from the controller. You can see I have a controller that toggle visibility, which does the actual toggling, right? So this helped me to separate my business logic away from the UI. It's actually an awesome way to do that. That's why I actually love GetX, because it gives you this controller feel where you probably take all your business logic and try to implement them inside that place and then call it up in your UI. What else do I want to show you? I talked about the this other reactive Boolean flag that enables us to show like a loading indicator when, so in the app button is busy, controller.state.busy. So when I click on the button to start logging in, you're going to see that it's the flag is going to be flipped at that point, and when it's flipped, right, so it's going to send a notification to the front end, and then you can see that there's a busy indicator. It's because we've actually triggered that to happen. That's what we have. That's going to probably log us in or fail, but as you can see, yeah, there's a little bit of error here, but don't worry about that. So you can see that that's really happened already, and as it stands, so the idea of state management using GetX is actually, in my opinion, a very cool stuff. I think this device is kind of smaller than the device I use in testing, and I just figured out there's some kind of little overflows. That's not what this video is about, but this video is mostly about you getting how to control your state from the business logic part of it, which is probably happening in your controller, and then down into your UI, you know. And that's the takeaway, guys. I'm going to see you on Inside. So if this is your first time to my channel, Fixlab, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, because like I said, most of the videos that we do, except this one that we're not really doing real life coding, it takes time to actually make those videos, really. So if you like what we teach on the channel, don't forget to give us a like, share the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, so that when we drop a video, you're gonna like what we'll be uploading. So the takeaway here is to be able to understand that you can separate your stuff into states, controllers, and bindings. And what the binding helps you to do is that for each time, you don't need to actually inject all your controllers at the same time. So it's kind of uses the one that you need at a particular time. So if you want to get into a login screen, it's not going to load all the controllers that you have. So it's only the login controller is going to be lazily loaded into your into the memory to be able to use it to process. So when you navigate out of that particular screen, all right, it's going to actually, you can see that here, this is how GetX actually does the control of this stuff. So if I go log out right here, you can see after the logout is implemented, you can see that Home Navigator is being deleted, and all of those stuffs that actually loaded into the memory is going to be deleted as well. So even the Get Material controller is also called and it's deleted. So it helps us to manage memories. All right, so that's the good part of GetX. I've also used Riverport. So I made a video where I talked about using GetX and also using Riverport in the calculator application I made. You're going to find it linked in this video. So if you want to also check out how to use controllers, how to use Riverport to also manipulate your states. So it's amazing stuff to use stuff based on what it can actually do for you, rather than actually being emotional about a particular package. So I don't have any special connection to any package. I think the one that you work with almost all the time become very much easy and convenient for you. So a lot of people use Block. There are places there's a kind of complexity that you need to do, and then you need some kind of good stuff that come with Block because of the stream sync weight. Everything is more of like streams there, which is also very nice because it gives you the ability to actually be reactive most of the time. So, but that's just it. So you choose what you want to do. The goal of this very video was actually to give you ability to separate stuffs, right? Another thing I want to show you is in a few minutes, if I leave this stuff without doing something, it's probably going to log me out. I don't want to wait all this while to show you that, but it's something you need to also understand that it's a good thing to implement in your application, especially application that probably has some kind of security implication. So then if you're wondering what this login binding is, so this login binding is actually connected to my routes. So in my route pages, this login binding is actually plugged into the route class that loads this as a binding. You can see that here, that in my login screen in the get page, because if you're using GetX, you can actually define all your pages as get pages, which is like a list of routes, and then point the routes, and then the binding is going to be the login binding, so that when someone navigates to this login screen, it's going to load this binding alongside with it, and this login binding takes already the controller. So that's just the sweet part of this. So guys, that's all for this one. I'm going to see you on inside. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be dropping amazing videos. I'm going to be doing some Swift UIs and also React Native. So you can see that if you're not turning on the notification bell, if you're not subscribed, you're missing a lot, because even the YouTube, that it keeps saying that a lot of people watch these videos but they've not really subscribed. So why? If you're this person, why? Please subscribe, and I'm going to see you guys on inside. Cheers.